What's going on, people? Welcome back to 888sport Football Friday Live. My name is Hugh Izzy, and I'm delighted that you could join us for yet another footballing bonanza with an all-star studded panel as the cast, including a rather depressed Sunderland fan, former Sunderland and Aberdeen goalkeeper and goalkeeper coach is David Priest. What's going on, Dave?
Yeah, you're right. I'm a little bit down today.
I can empathise. I've seen it's not good times right now. We've also got Football 365 editor Daniel Story in the building. Welcome, Daniel. Good to have you on board. And of course, our very own late night Lothario is the most eligible bachelor this side of the Thames, Richie Driss.
God damn
on
it,
social.
Hugh.
How's everyone doing?
Very well, mate.
All
Cheers.
good?
Yeah, good.
All
Yeah.
good.
Fantastic. Now, lots to cover in this one, including a Marcus Rashford loving after his heroics in the Europa Cup last night. We have also got Italian football's rather embarrassing stance on Montari and the racism issue, all the latest transfer news, and, much to David's excitement, the news that David Moyes is staying on at Everton. Let's have a look and see exactly what's coming up on today's show.
I remember a simpler time when I was a special man. I would watch The Genius of Lampard.
Don't think his frustration was towards the drug test. His frustration was towards the fact that we lost the game.
These problems are beyond Bilic's control, but one win in their last 11 games has ensured he is the focus of attention.
Here we go. Richie, watch those windows, Driss.
Oh, sugar.
Now, with news on how you guys can get involved, and this week's vote, it's Richie Driss.
Thank you very much, Hugh. Now, as the footballing world knows, Marcus Rashford tore up the world of football last night with a brilliant display against Celta Vigo. Romelu Lukaku's done very well for Everton this season, as has Kylian Mbappe. While Alex Iwobi has been warming the benches at Arsenal. So the question is, so I had to get that in there.
That was a totally unnecessary thing. What has Iwobi got to do with this?
I had to, because he could have been one of the best young strikers in our vote, but he's not.
He's not a striker.
The vote on Facebook this week is who is the best young striker in world football at the moment. So hit the heart button for Romelu Lukaku of Everton, the laughing face for man like Marcus Rashford, sad face for Harry Kane, and the wow face for Monaco's Mbappe as well. Get involved on Twitter with the hashtag 888FFL. Thoughts, gentlemen?
I'm a big fan of all of them. They're all very exciting. It's great to have 3 of the 4 in the Premier League as well.
Yep.
But to me, the one that is most, potentially just, he's an incredible player who he really is reminiscent of Thierry Henry. It's Mbappe for me. What about you, Daniel? Who's your favourite out of those 4?
My favourite is Romelu Lukaku, which I've made obvious time and time again. But Mbappe is the one that will move for the most money. There's no doubt about that. He's the most exciting one in terms of elite clubs around the world fawning over him, pushing past each other this summer, I think. So Mbappe is the one that's got that real star potential.
David?
Yeah, I like Harry Kane. I think he's effective, and I've got a soft spot for players who don't look like they're going to be brilliant stars. They haven't got that the natural talent that everyone can see. They've worked at the game, and Harry Kane's done that, and he's scored lots of goals.
He is certainly an example of someone who has kind of been thrown by the wayside and has worked his socks off, and he is playing out of his skin right now. Fantastic to see English players amongst the list. Make sure you get your votes in, and also let us know if we've missed anyone out who you do think perhaps is more talented than any of those. Now, the big news coming out of the North East today is that David Moyes is actually staying at Sunderland. I don't know how he's pulling this off or what dirt he's got on the club, but David, I'm going to start with you. You're a
I'm sorry.
job because I think, well, he hasn't got any, you know, they haven't got a lot of money to spend. They're going to need a lot of players. It's going to be difficult for them to come back.
It's almost like he's kind of dug this hole for himself, though. He's signed his friends from the looks of things, from old clubs. And right now, I get the feeling that not many Sunderland fans believe that he is the man to bring them back up.
The weird thing for me is that he's managed to sort of sell this image that Sunderland were always going to get relegated this season. That wasn't the case. In January, when Marcus Silva was appointed at Hull, they were 2 points and 2 places behind Sunderland, and they could well stay up. So let's not. You know, Moyes has managed to sort of almost this PR spin that what more could I do? Well, actually, it wasn't a given that Sunderland were going to be relegated this season, and yet he's managed to, as you say, he's managed to push himself into a position where he's clearly, to Ellis Short, has made him unsackable.
There's been a great phrase going about that he was dealt a bad hand and he played it badly. And that's why people are asking for a new manager, because they think, well, another year. There's been no indication. There's been no sort of indication that there's going to be what kind of side Sunderland are. There's no clear direction the team's going in. And the team's, okay, there's been a lot of injuries that I contend with, and it looks like a patchwork squad. And there's, I can't say, you know, you look at Pickford, has been linked to a £70 million move to Everton.
That's going to be a massive loss.
Yeah, exactly, huge. Defoe with West Brom and Crystal Palace today. Cornell will be gone. And then what's left? You've got players that are out of contract, and you're thinking, well, are we going to get the side that we thought we were going to get when Moyes took over? When he first took over, I thought that, right, we're going to get kind of the same team that we had in Sam Allardyce.
Right.
If we weren't going to win games,
that was the game plan, at least, not to lose.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. If we weren't going to win games, we were going to be difficult to beat, and that hasn't been the case at all. And I think next season, when it's going to be a total different change in mentality, when we're going to have to go out there, be attacking, win games, I don't know if it's going to happen.
I get the feeling when I watch them that they just don't seem to have a plan, and it must be quite sad to watch, because knowing that Newcastle are coming up at the same time, Borough's still with a chance of staying up. Desperate times call for desperate measures, and what we've seen at Hull, the need to change can sometimes pay dividends. Richie, anyone from Sunderland's side of point of view on the social?
Sunderland fans at the moment are blaming Manchester United for the downfall of David Moyes, because obviously there was a lot of promise when he moved from Everton to Manchester United. Man United got sacked, and it's been downhill all the way from there, apparently.
You know, it's quite funny actually, because I kind of see their downfall started when Sam Allardyce got the England job. They were doing okay. Things were going in the right direction.
And Sunderland got done in last summer, let's face it, with Allardyce, because the FA dragged their heels over Allardyce, and it was mid-July before they could make their own appointment. And by then the damage had been done. They didn't bring in that many players last summer. They certainly didn't have the pick of the players, and they were kind of on a downward spiral. But Moyes was brought in as the firefighter, the perfect man to replace Allardyce and fight those fights, and he's done nothing.
Yeah, exactly. And what you want is, okay, it's about players. If you've got good players, you've signed a better chance. But what you want is a manager who can create a team that's greater than some of its parts. And he's done the absolute opposite of that.
Not the most attractive proposition for any players looking to make a move, let's just say that. Now, moving on to much more promising things in Marcus Rashford, who last night scored a wonder free kick to put Manchester United ahead in their semi-final in Europa Cup. This guy he's very exciting. Let's just say this. For me, I find that if a player comes as a youth prospect, the fans are going to warm to them much more. The fact that he has already taken to, you know, all these levels so quickly, whether it's international or the United first team. He also apparently is one of these guys who stays extra after training, doing half an hour free kick practicing. This guy is so promising that a lot of people are now questioning whether it would be holding him back or even a good idea to bring in Antoine Griezmann, as has been mooted for this summer. Should they be building around Rashford, David?
I think they look great when there's him in the side, Pogba in the side, delivering balls from deeper, and Mkhitaryan in behind, slipping balls through to him, through the Ivan Eagle. I think those three would be crucial to them in the next few seasons. I mean, you know, there's been a lot of rubbish flying about Pogba and the expectations on him. But as the season's gradually gone on, he's just got better and better and better. And the time he spent out lately, it just proved that they do miss him.
Yeah. No, his connection with Rashford is quite exciting. As a football fan in general, when you see two players linking up like that, and the kind of just the mad pace that Rashford has got. It can make these spaces open up so quickly. Jose, however, isn't really known for pushing the youngsters, and I've got this inkling that it's a lot, or a little bit at least, to do with the fact that he's a local lad. Do you see that changing, or do you think that the fact that he's likely to only be here for 2 or 3 seasons, Mourinho, he's going to want to hit the ground running next season, and they're going to need to spend money? You would think it's a given that they're going to go big.
Yeah, I don't think there's any doubt they will buy a forward player this summer. Rashford holds a lot of goodwill with Manchester United fans, obviously. He's kind of the only one left of that class of 92 crowd that still has that tag. There's really no one else, no one that's really pushed through. There's talk of them buying Michael Keane back this summer, who obviously was a graduate, but other than that, it's Rashford and Rashford alone. And that goodwill it will make a difference with Mourinho, I think. He will know that, of course he has to win trophies, but he also has to keep fans on side. One option is to sort of dovetail him with Anthony Martial on the left, play him as a wide forward and bring in a central striker, if that's a Griezmann or a Lukaku, whatever. But Rashford has to have a role there, because for all the goodwill from Mourinho, and clearly there's a huge amount of it, if he pushes Rashford from centre stage in the Manchester United setup, he will come under serious pressure for doing that.
Yeah, I mean, he doesn't get a lot of chances, especially when he's playing up front. He doesn't get a lot of chances in games. His shots per game is quite low for an elite striker. But he's been very effective, up until the start of this season, and he's always been overperforming. And this year, it's levelled out a bit, and he's trying to find his feet again, which is always going to be the dip. But you see again the other day, now he's bringing set pieces into his game as well.
I was so impressed by the fact that he's even taking the set pieces.
Well, you know, there's one thing I spoke about last night during the game that I thought Alvarez was at fault. I thought he tried to creep behind his wall and guess, and that was enough to give Rashford enough room on that side. If he'd held his position, he probably would have saved it quite comfortably. But having said that, it was still a hell of a strike.
I think the other thing that works in Rashford's favour, which is not an on-pitch thing, is he's incredibly marketable. He's English, he's young, he's pacey, he's exciting, he's skillful, and all those things create a very marketable player. Manchester United, they know that with Paul Pogba, that the power of that in terms of their branding, their marketing, in England and Far East, abroad, is hugely powerful. So it is in their interest to keep him in the picture. It's just a very difficult balance with doing that, and also making sure you've got the best team to win games and trophies.
Interesting question just come in, sorry to disturb you. Regarding Rashford's development, Martial has gone to Manchester United, started very, very well and then petered out. Rashford, though, has come on leaps and bounds, as you said, with the set pieces. What would you put this down to?
Well, from my experience of how people get better at anything is practice. He's obviously extremely dedicated. He's all about his football. This is his craft. This is who he is. And United have got an incredible record as well of having youth prospects or someone from the youth in their squad. I think it's since 1930 or something. Yeah. So they'll be looking to carry that on. As I said, for England, I think it's incredibly exciting. However, in the big games, it's a lot of pressure, and you don't want to, let him burn out. Yeah. So this weekend, for example, which I consider to be it's like a cup final. Whoever loses this game, top 4 is over. Yeah, you're getting way too excited.
I can't wait.
Will he make drastic changes, especially given that they just played yesterday?
If you look at the bench last night, right. I mean, that's not a weak bench. I mean, Rooney, Martial, Smalling, Young,
unbelievable.
De Gea. You know what I mean? Yeah. So if he brings them back in, it's not going to be a weaker side.
It's almost a stronger side.
And do you know what? As long as he uses players from the 25-player pool, there's no way he can put a team out there that looks like it's going to get beat. And if he does, he can put his weakest side possible, whatever that is, he will still put them out there and make sure that they don't lose the game.
I'm usually tentative about these matches, but to be honest, Hugh, I'm really excited. I'm really excited.
Yeah.
Really excited. Bring it on.
Maybe slightly misplaced. I'm quietly confident about what we can achieve this weekend.
We'll put
Don't let me down, lads. Right? Don't let me down. Meanwhile, Arsene Wenger has been joking that he was wrong to say that he decided on the renewal of his contract, and he's also confirmed that Mesut Ozil did get a little bit angry last week. Let's have a listen to what the Arsenal boss said.
I'm sorry that he kicked the door, but I can understand. I don't think his frustration was towards the drug test. His frustration was towards the fact that we lost the game. And that's the only explanation I have. I didn't speak about it with him because I only heard about it today.
He's getting his driveway at home re-tarmacked. Looks like he's planning to stay a bit longer.
Oh, that's a good conclusion.
A £42 million player who's won the World Cup yet has come under incredible scrutiny since moving to England, and yet again his body language has been brought into question. Is he giving all that he can? Has he been underperforming, or are we just using Mesut Ozil as a scapegoat?
I think there's a semblance of a point there from Mesut, which is that England traditionally, we like to see the cogs turning. We like to see the machine in a player. We like to see the demonstrable effort. It's not just... There's a slight sense that we're almost, we misjudge skills as fanciness, and therefore fanciness and effort are different things. I don't think that Mesut Ozil doesn't care. That said, they're not the only criticisms. The big criticism of Ozil at the moment is that he's not playing very well, and I think that's valid. I think he needs to understand there's a difference between people criticising his body language, which I do think is a bit unfair, and people criticising his performance, which is pretty bang on at the moment. He's gone missing for the last month, 2 months, when Arsenal have really, really needed him.
That's a very, very, very interesting question on this point coming from Lewis Archer. Do you think there's a link between the accusation of being lazy when playing in the Premier League and just how much technically better the Spanish league is when it comes to stuff like passing?
Well, do you know what? I fell into that trap, the stereotypical trap when I was a player. That I wanted everyone working hard, and especially my forwards. I wanted them to close down to make things harder for the defence. And it wasn't until I got older that I started to see that some strikers or some attacking midfield players, they need to conserve that energy. You know what I mean? Unless you're playing the game where Pochettino, Klopp, if you're where you need everybody pressing in the same sequence, then that's fine. You need players who can do that. Do Arsenal do that? Is that the way they really play?
No, and more to the point, do you want your £42 million attacking midfielder running around like a headless chicken?
No, and I think Dan's right. I think it's not the fact that he's not working hard, it's the fact that he's not being as effective maybe as what he has been in the past. So if the team's not playing well and they don't have the ball, using the ball well, he's not going to play well either.
The other thing that Ozil suffers from is what I'd call video game culture, which is that we're used to seeing superhuman players, players that can do everything, which is Messi, Ronaldo. And there's a danger of comparing everyone to them. Not everyone can run all the time and tackle and score goals and pass and create chances. They can't do it all. So there seems to be a focus on what players aren't rather than what players are, which...
You take those two players out of the equation, and we forget, especially when I was growing up, players had bad seasons, but we don't remember them. They get forgotten about, you know. So, but now, maybe it's because of the money.
And there's so much attention on every match.
So much focus, so much analysis. Yeah, exactly. People aren't allowed to have bad games when it's only human nature. They're not robots.
It's a controversial one. Let us know your thoughts in the comments. Is Ozil a complete fraud, or is Mesut actually one of the most unique world-class players in the Premier League? Now, on to this week's How Hard. Which stars? One of the most promising goalkeepers in the country, one of the most competitive, if not the most competitive man in the building. It's Richie Dritch. The pressure's on, my son.
Okay, joining me for this week's How Hard is David Priest. However, taking on this week's How Hard challenge, me. But I'm here to take on everyone. I'm here to take David's score. I'm here to take Hugh's score. I'm here to take James Ward-Prowse's score.
I've got 2 points here. 1, there's a strong wind behind here, there's a little bit of a breeze here. 2, I've got a text from Hugh Wizzy. Says there's no chance that he's beating my score, not with those pipe clean the leg.
Attempt number 1. Like that. It's not a bad start.
59.
59? God, bruh. As if.
Here we go. Richie, watch those windows dress.
Oh, sugar.
52.
52?
Too high, man. Keep it low.
Oh, you awful. Awful.
66.
66?
Peak too soon, you have 63. It's not uncommon of a man your age, though. Yeah. I want you to close your eyes now, and I want to visualise Hugh Wizzy is in that goal.
Oh, come on. Right,
I want to kick the ball right through him like he's a ghost.
Richie Driss up against Hugh Wizzy.
Oh, 69. 69. I told you that.
One opportunity, and he gets 69 miles an hour. David, talk to me.
69 miles an hour. That puts you joint 4th
with Sir Les Ferdinand and Emil Heskey. It's not bad at all, that.
I beat a certain Hugh Izzy.
Yeah, 69, it's a good score, mate, well done.
I'll take that. I'll take that one with it.
Fixed, I tell you. The whole thing is fixed. Now, well played, Richie. I'll begrudgingly give you credit, but we'll move on very swiftly. The size of his ego now is going to be unreal.
That text, especially from Hugh Izzy. What was it about those pipe cleaners?
You just spurred him on.
Yeah.
I can't believe that.
Yeah. One of the neighbours came down and said that he'd been down there all week.
Yeah.
The pool hadn't been practicing.
Technique.
Now, after that drama and chaos, and well done, Richie. I'm actually quite shocked. I can't believe it. So he's got one up on me. Okay, West Ham. They're in a lot of trouble, and this weekend they're playing Tottenham Hotspur, who are obviously on tonight, even Friday Night Football at the London Stadium. However, there are reports circulating that Slaven Bilic has got 2 games to save his job, 2 home games left. Our own Dion Fanning is going to delve a little bit deeper now into his predicament.
One morning during the 2006 World Cup in Germany, I found myself on the same train as Croatian FA officials who were leaving Berlin following their side's defeat to Brazil the previous evening. They were holding court in the buffet car, and the bar was open, which some of the party had greeted enthusiastically. They were welcoming to all, insisting people drank with them and enjoyed their hospitality. One member of their party stood to the side, observing and smoking. That was Slaven Bilic. Later that summer, Bilic was appointed Croatia's manager, and at the Euros 2 years later, he led a gifted squad to the quarter-finals against Turkey before they lost on penalties despite taking the lead in the 119th minute. When Bilic said defeat would haunt him forever, it was clearly not a soundbite. He brought this passion and intensity to West Ham when he returned there as manager and led them to 7th in the league in his first season. This year has been more troublesome. The move to the Olympic Stadium and the departure of Dimitri Payet has led to some problems. Some of these problems are beyond Bilic's control, but one win in their last 11 games has ensured he is the focus of attention. This week there were reports that Bilic's future could depend on West Ham's last 2 home games, if you can call the London Stadium home. A change of manager might create a distraction at the club and give the sense that things are being done, but the problems at West Ham are deeper than Bilic. He has worked as well as he can in the circumstances, but that may not matter. Perhaps West Ham will win the games they need to win, and the end of season review will come out in Bilic's favour. But Bilic knows how the game works. He knows that sometimes you just have to stand to one side and let events take their course.
Now, it's been a tumultuous season. They basically have gone through the disillusion of moving to the stadium and the fact that they lost their best player by far in Dimitri Payet, who was the life and soul of that team, scoring incredible goals from left, right and centre last season at least, and one of the most creative players in the Premier League. It's a lot to try and replace someone like that. Does he deserve more time? Because it's been a bit of a mess this year.
I think he deserves more time in that a lot of the problems were not his doing. The West Ham clearly made promises to Dimitri Payet when he signed his contract last season that they didn't fulfil this summer, and that included buying a certain level of player in terms of status. And they're an odd club in that they make their transfer activity very public. So they announced they were going after Alexandre Lacazette as one example, and then end up with Simone Zaza. And that kind of thing has a big effect on a club when you add in things like the stadium move, and you add in the fact that Slaven Bilic struggles to organise a defence, quite frankly. He's not what we'd call a tactical manager, in that he works more maybe on passion, and he does struggle to organise a defence. And I suspect he might come a cropper, if not over the summer, then October, November. But he's a good lightning rod for those owners, because he deflects the attention from some pretty ropey strategy, effectively, from the club, I think.
Yeah, I mean, it's surprising seeing as he was a central defender himself as well. You think that would be the first place he'd start with. But you're right, I mean, about the owners as well. You want them to be vocal. You want them to be a link, and you want to know what they're thinking, or the fans, West Ham fans do. But some of the things they've come out with,
it's every day as well, isn't it?
Exactly,
every day.
I can remember seeing some tweets from one of the owner's sons
Jackson,
wearing a Michy shirt before he'd signed for Chelsea, and you're just thinking, this isn't a good look. Like, the whole thing of them needing a striker and a right back and not really dealing with that. I think fans are beginning to lose patience, maybe even have lost patience with him as well. But We will know more by the end of tonight as well. Hopefully they can cause Tottenham a few problems and maybe save his skin. Richie?
Yes, yeah, a good point or possible point coming in from James Swan on Facebook. Slaven Bilic should be given until the beginning of next season to get rid of these teething problems at the new stadium. If we're still at this level in October, then get him out. Quite a few comments regarding our vote, which is who is the best young striker in the world at the moment. Details are on screen now. Tony Payton on Twitter says, what about Gabriel Jesus? Good point, very good point. Osama Wasim says Lukaku, but considering Lukaku's age and Rashford's age, Rashford still needs to perform for one or two more seasons. And Pierre Lindquist says Rashford shouldn't even be mentioned among the three others. He might come good, but he is only promising now. And Mbappe at 18 has single-handedly put Monaco in the Champions League.
I mean, I would make a case against that in that Monaco are incredibly well structured and have a plethora of top quality talent on their books. Yeah. But I can kind of understand what you mean, that we should be giving these kids more time to prove that they're actually the real deal. However, let's move on. Despite an unbelievable 25-game unbeaten Premier League run, Manchester United's finishing has left much to be desired this season. Jose Mourinho decided that there was no better man to speak to for some advice than Sir Alex Ferguson.
You know, I remember a simpler time when I was a special man. I would watch the genius of Lampard. I would jump around on Drogba's back. I would be laughing. Now I'm on Luke Shaw's back, telling him where to run. Fellaini, he has half a brain. If you look closely, he's lopsided. Rooney, and he broke his nose attempting a push-up last week. And Pogba?
Jose, are you happy with the boy Pogba?
Sir Alex, would you be happy if you paid £100 for a curly whirly? I don't think so. I don't think so.
You know, you can't keep blaming the players like that. It's not right.
I am 25 games unbeaten.
Absolutely. There's no doubt about that. But you've drawn way too many games in the week.
Because everyone is against us. The referees, the linesmen, the physios, even the tea lady. She is evil, bitch.
You're suffering from paranoia now.
And which one of my enemies told you that?
Jose, I'm going to give you this, right? It's all about power and control.
Sir Alex, I cannot accept this.
Now take it now. It'll help you, right? There's absolutely no doubt about that.
I don't know what to say. I prefer not to speak.
Right, we're done now. You're in the Fergie time. Out.
Thank you. Thank you. Roy Keane, I did not know you speak to therapist.
Yeah, listen, I thought I might give it a go, you know. A few things I want to get off my chest at the end of the day.
I think he is fantastic. You will feel great.
All right. We'll see, okay? What are you doing here, Roy? You're right, Jose. That felt great.
Cracking stuff. Now, to talk about all this weekend's biggest games and talking points, I'm delighted to welcome back 888sport betting ambassador and expert. It's Emma Spencer back in the building. Welcome back.
Yeah, good to be here.
Fantastic to have you here.
Good to be here. It wouldn't be a programme without a bit of Arsenal chat, but we'll move on to that in a minute.
Every week I'm dreading this moment, to be honest. What have you got for us this week?
Well, we'll start with the Europa League. This now looks like it's going to go the way of Man U, doesn't it? They're short, they're 4-7. It looks like they're probably going to play Ajax. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, although I would say about Ajax, they blew a 3-goal lead against Schalke in the last round, and I think it was only went through an extra time. So it's, I wouldn't put too much money on them at the minute, but you fancy United at home now, 1-0 up.
Having already won the EFL, this would then cap a pretty good trophy season for Mourinho, wouldn't it?
He needs it, there's no doubt. I mean, the Europa League is all or bust now in terms of Manchester United season, effectively. The automatic qualification to the Champions League rather than finishing fourth actually becomes a preferable thing to finishing fourth. So yeah, it's all or bust, and I agree. I'm sure they'll win the Europa League.
But as a result of all this, Man U are incredibly busy, which changes the dynamics possibly of them playing Arsenal this weekend. Huge match of the managers here. Mourinho, a lot of people saying, well, he's not going to play his best team. He can't afford to. He doesn't want to lose either, does he?
No,
doesn't want to lose at Arsenal.
Around this time when he's got these big games, he was also followed by I think the Chelsea game as well, a few in the FA Cup and now Arsenal. And there's no way he's going to go out there and want to lose this game. So I think he's overplaying the weekend side.
Yeah, it's weird in that a draw probably helps neither team, and yet that kind of feels the logical result of the game, because neither manager really wants to lose it and have more pressure piled upon them. So a draw that helps neither might end up being the obvious result, I think.
No, it's interesting. Well, how they bet the chat is Wenger Arsenal to finally beat United is at 19-20. Is that about right, or no? You're siding towards the draw.
Yeah, I don't like them odds on, I'd say. I think the draw is a better bet than that, actually.
Well, you briefly touched on West Ham Spurs. Look, every match at the moment is huge. You also spoke about the Bilic news. They're reviewing things, as you said, probably got a couple more matches. It looks unlikely for them to hear they're 15-2 to beat them, the draw 4-1 and Spurs 2-5. And it's huge still for Spurs because they've got to keep that pressure on.
I really like that price.
15-2.
Yeah.
15-2.
At home, with everything to
massive,
play for the manager, if they actually are playing for the guy, you'd think that they're in with a chance. Tottenham have had such an incredible run. At some stage, it has to end. Maybe tonight is the night.
Do you think there could be a bit of unease in the camp, though, with that news?
Definitely, but then there is also the fact that Tottenham may feel that they are still within a fairly good chance of actually winning the league, and most of the time when they're up in with a chance, they bottle it. So
They'll dig those.
had to, you know. It's been a while. But 15-2, I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll take that. Yeah.
Right then, it's now time for this week's betting battle with 888sport. Oh dear, zeros across the board. We're back. We're back in full effect. However, I just want to remind you guys that last week, your boy brought in about a third of our total, which now stands at £354.45. All will be going to charity. Every week, 888sport have kindly given each of our three panellists £10 to bet on who they think is going to win one of the weekend's fixtures. And you can double up, even a fourfold if you're feeling as brave as I was last week. Who are you going for this week, lads?
Well, look, we'll save the best for last on that note. There's no pressure, but Daniel, we'll start with you. What have you gone for?
I've gone for Hull half-time, full-time. Sunderland haven't scored. Sorry, David. Sunderland haven't scored away from home since February the 4th, and Hull are on. Well, Marcus Silva on this incredible home run. Yeah. I don't fancy the outright price too short, so I've gone half-time, full-time.
Yeah, 6-5.
No, I like
bad.
that.
Not bad. David?
I have gone
Bit of a double going on here.
Yeah, I've gone for a double. I've gone for Leicester to beat Watford and Liverpool to beat Southampton. The logic behind is that they both agree with L. It's a solid letter. I like the letter. It's a good letter. So I'm going to go for those two. Well,
Hugh every week has a different approach to how he's going to tackle this. We've been for just the short price ones that don't always win. We've been for the four-timers, but you've reduced it to two today. What have you gone for?
I've bought myself some time, I feel, with that last big win, right? So we're still trying a few things out. I'm actually going for Bournemouth to beat Stoke.
Yeah.
I really like the way they play football. Eddie Howe at home, very attacking, with full intent from the beginning to the end. And Stoke haven't been great, especially away. And City to beat Palace, simply because they kind of need that win to secure the top four, and I'm sure that Pep will be, you know, throwing everything at Sam Allardyce. You're shaking your head in disbelief.
Well, just because look at what Sam's done lately.
I know,
Arsenal,
but he bottled it again.
Yeah.
He bottled it last week for me. I had something on that, Sam. You let me down. I'm not going there again.
Well, if that comes off, it's not a bad double, 15-8.
Not bad. Not bad. What about the... just one more thing I have to ask. The usual Wenger talk. I don't actually know anymore whether he's staying or not. I'm so confused by the whole thing. Have we had any update on that?
Well, we haven't got prices on that, but I have been assured for the last couple of weeks from someone very close to the know that he is absolutely not going anywhere.
Incredible scenes. Unbelievable stuff. I mean, Richie is actually celebrating behind the scenes. I'm lost with this club.
Next week, I want you to get me a price for Rafa Benitez to be the next Arsenal manager.
Okay.
All right, yeah. No, I'm telling you. Rafa Benitez.
Emma, I want to thank you and 888sport for coming in yet again. It's been an absolute pleasure having you on board. I wish everyone well for this weekend. Hopefully we can make some money for charity. Now, moving on. This week there has been an incredible show of support from the world of football for Aaron Lennon, who is being treated currently for... asked if the game needs to do more to help players who are in this predicament.
Oh, we try, like always, with every individual player to help him to improve as a football player. And if we find or if we feel some problems in mental or other issues, then we have enough people working in different functions in the club to help players even with these kind of problems.
So we feel very sorry about that situation with Aaron. We wanted from here to send all our wishes that the recovery soon. Him and his family, all the club is in contact with his agent now, trying to what we can do to try to help him. Yes, I think we all feel very sorry. He's a person that played and was here for nearly 10 years.
Part of his job, people underestimate a little bit the stress even the players are under to perform and to be capable. I think you need to be a bit more balanced, you know, because in life you have always ups and downs. The only difference maybe in our jobs is the ups are higher and the downs are lower.
Football is quite a secular sport, and fandom I find quite tribal, but one thing I love about the game, one of the things I love about the game is the fact that everyone comes together in moments like this, and this to me is a really pivotal chance for football to take action and actually improve situation for guys who are just men doing a job ultimately. David, talk to us about the kind of pressure that a lot of these youngsters or footballers in general, through your experience, are under, because it's kind of underestimated a lot of the time, and people do look at the football screen, sometimes screaming at it, thinking, I'm allowed to just treat you how I like, but they are people.
Yeah, and I think mental health issues, depression, it's not created by football, you know, if you're a footballer, but it kind of exaggerates. If you've got any problem like that, it magnifies it and exaggerates it and becomes greater. And it's a competitive environment. You go in there, you go straight from school, you go straight into that environment, and it's competitive. You're competing against other sides, you're competing against your own teammates for contracts. If you're lucky enough to win contracts, you go into a first team dressing room, or you move up to the 23s, and it's the same environment there, and it's kind of kill or be killed. And there's especially when I first started, you know, there's older, more experienced players who feel threatened, so they're trying to keep you down, and you're competing against them. And you know, any worries or anxieties or vulnerabilities, you can't show them. You've got to suppress them. You're forced to suppress them because people take advantage of that and see them as weaknesses and take advantage of it. And it's the most important thing for me is support all the way through, from being in sort of academies into youth football into first teams, so you understand your emotions, what you're feeling, because once you start suppressing those emotions and not expressing them with the other people and talking about it, once you start internalising that, then it starts a downward spiral.
It's a dangerous game you're building up.
Yeah, and that's when you're in trouble. And all the way through my career, I was lucky to work with sports psychologists when I moved to Aberdeen, when I was having a difficult time. I went up there, didn't play very well, suffered a lot of injuries early on, and I struggled to cope with it. You put yourself under immense pressure anyway, and that can become a problem as well, because if your own expectations of yourself outweigh your actual talent and ability, that can become very toxic as well. And I know people today, you know, it's going across the internet today about, you know, Piers Morgan saying that we shouldn't be talking about these things.
Yeah, I've just got no time for this guy. I mean,
it's got me so angry.
Yeah, fuming.
Because one of the things, especially when I was playing, I struggled a lot with the expectations I put upon myself. And it was Johnny Wilkinson. He came out and brought an autobiography out, and he was speaking about the pressure that he put himself before games. And now before a game, or he'd be driving to the stadium, he wanted to be anywhere else but going to play rugby and thinking dark thoughts. And it was kind of what I thought at the time.
The scrutiny that these players are under is immense these days as well.
Yeah, that's it. And like I said, for me to see that somebody else was feeling like that, it made me feel a whole lot better.
That's what we need in the game.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
I think we're a bit guilty of saying, what does football need to do as an amalgam? Now, actually, it's not about putting it as one huge entity. That doesn't help. You can do things on an individual level. Firstly, we need to remember that being a footballer and being a human is mutually inclusive. You are both. You're not separated out. We need to remember that private lives they deserve that to be exactly that, a private life to a point. We need to remember that people playing badly are not doing it deliberately. They're not. It's not that they don't care. It's not that they want to play badly. They want to play well just as much as you want them to play well. So they don't need to be attacked for that. Yeah. And secondly, and finally, we need to remember that when we're treating players, it's impossible not to make mistakes. We do it. Everyone does it in our daily lives. They're not robots. You said it yourself. So we hold them up to these ridiculous standards. Oh, you missed an open goal. Well, yeah, but you turned up for work 2 minutes late today. No one's screaming in your face because of that. Yeah. People make mistakes. It's a game of humans, and if it wasn't, then we wouldn't enjoy it. So we've got to accept that side of it as well.
I think people see this about footballers, that they're pressured and think they're under pressure from each other inside the dressing room. That's some unforgiving place where no quarter's given and it's you've got to be tough to survive. That's not really the case now. This thing about the fans, the pressure from the fans and the abuse they get from the fans, but you learn to cope with that. You learn to deal with that. It's what's going inside that's is more hurtful to yourself. And once like I said, you need somebody to, if all your thoughts are all over the place, you need to speak to somebody just to bring them all together and just line them up and make you to see things rationally.
It should be said that the fact that we're talking about this and it's become a massive story is a good thing. Yeah. We are making improvements. This is getting better, not worse.
Yeah. And all the money that's washing the game, there should be more people that's in and around clubs to support players mentally. When I was at Barnsley, we had a father, Pete Amos, who used to come into the club, and we'd have some meetings, and of course it was some to do with religion, and but most of the time it was just to talk about what we were going through without any judgment whatsoever. You go to speak to them for 5 minutes, tell them what was going on at home, and that was a hell of a lot of. It was such a benefit. Just to get it out, just to talk about it.
A lot of the time I find players, they start playing like 6, 7 years old. Once they're in that system, that's literally their lives. So a lot of the time, other like people who have normal jobs or other jobs, they get to experience the ups and downs of like life or relationships and how to deal with things. Footballers don't really have the training to do that.
And they don't learn rejection until it's too late. So and when rejection comes, it is a seismic blow to personality and your profession. And getting released out of an academy, for example, that is a huge blow to someone's life. And that can be as big as losing a family member. Going through a breakup. It's that big, and yet there's not that support network all the time for them.
Yeah, I mean, there's been some focus on players who are retiring. I went through it myself the last 3 or 4 years, where it is a bereavement. There is a sense of loss. There's something missing inside you. And I wasn't too big to go on asphalt. I went to PFA. They set me up with somebody who I went to see for, it was a 16-week stretch, 18-week stretch, sorry, and it was literally just to try and put myself back together again and trying to come to terms with what had happened, because you're institutionalised. Every day you've got to see it, you've got your routine, you've got a very blinkered view, and you buy into the fact that if I'm not this way, if I'm not got the blinkers on, and I'm not giving it everything that's every thought of the day, you think, well, then I won't become a success, or I won't stay in the game.
And you let people down.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Well, the fact that, as you say, this has been highlighted, I think is a real positive. It's an opportunity for everyone to, if you know someone who's going through some kind of pressure, or you yourself are, don't feel two ways about coming forward and speaking to people, because communication is the key to getting over this type of thing. The support systems are either being put in place or they are there already. And there's going to be people who talk a lot of nonsense, like Piers Morgan, who are totally uneducated on the subject themselves. But the fact that it's being highlighted, I think, is great. So I wish Aaron and his family all the best. Now, Richie, anything coming on social?
Yeah, we've had a few comments regarding our vote, which who is the best young striker. As I said earlier, Mbappe at 18 single-handedly put Monaco in the Champions League. Mentioned that one already. This was the one I was looking for. Harry Field says that Kane is the only one out of all of those strikers to be consistently scoring 20 goals in 3 seasons, which shows his class. The fact that Rashford is in the same bracket is ridiculous. Couple of questions on Arsene Wenger. Of course, it wouldn't be an episode of FFL without a couple of questions like this. For example, has this promise and non-delivery of a decision on his future, Wenger's future, affected your thoughts, like on his future, whether he's going to stay or go?
Yeah, because I just don't have a clue what's going on anymore.
So
I actually don't think anyone in the club knows what's going on.
So
None of them are talking to each other. Nothing's confirmed. If it is, they're being secretive as anything, and the whole thing just stinks.
So his promise that he was going to make a decision on his future by April, which hasn't come. Do you think that means he's going to go definitely, or?
I think he thinks he's playing the media in some sort
Right.
of game, but
It's not. He's playing himself.
Deliberately
And
or
the
otherwise,
fans.
he's playing the fans. Yeah, exactly. So I think he'll stay. But
Another question, really good question this actually. How does it feel to finish behind Spurs? That's from Richie Driss.
Unbelievable scenes. Hang on, are you asking yourself? Or
Yeah.
You kind of walked into that one, didn't you? Let's move on to happier things. This week's top 5 stars. The man with the whitest teeth in the Premier League is Roberto Firmino. Putting us all to shame. I need to go down to the dentist right away. Now it's time for this week's Transfer Chat. Chelsea striker Diego Costa has been linked and is reportedly apparently agreed to a £650, say that again, £650,000 a week. I give up on life if he doesn't take that deal. He's been linked to a Chinese Super League team called Tianjin Quanjian, which would make the 28-year-old I know. I talk a lot about the Chinese Super League in general. But these deals are coming, they're thick and fast now, and they've got money to splash, investing in football left, right and centre. Surely he's got to take that move.
Well, you would have thought so, wouldn't you?
To become the highest paid player in the league, you'd be a fool not to.
And Chelsea will probably take the deal as well, because the reported fee is £74 million, which they've sold Oscar for 51, they've sold Ramirez for 24, they've sold Costa for 74, so that's basically £150 million, which is half a new team for them on the basis of selling players, good players, but players that they can replace, I think.
Yeah, it's been very un-Chelsea, like, you know, they've bought players with big money and then sold them on for at a fraction, so it's, yeah.
I mean, incredible stuff. If they can get this deal over the line, you'd think that they'll be snapping off whoever's hand is offering this silly money. It is getting silly. And moving on to our next transfer target, it's Mbappe from Monaco, who apparently Manchester United have already had a £72 million bid rejected. However, Real Madrid have already said that they're interested. I think Perez is quoting like 100 million or something like that. And also Manchester City have stated that they're willing to spend up to £94 million on the 18-year-old. Is this a little bit too soon?
If there's one thing Manchester City need, it's another wide forward, isn't it? That's exactly what they need. Not the defence, not the fullbacks, not the centre half. Yeah, another wide forward, please.
I mean, I just wonder what happened to financial fair play, lads. What went wrong there for this kind of money to be thrown around? 94 million. We are getting to the stage where 100 million deals are
for an 18-year-old.
Yeah, for an 18-year-old. We were talking before about there was a clip of him at the side of the pitch on the bench. He'd been taken off, and he saw himself up on the screen, and he sort of he looks like a 25-year-old footballer. And then all of a sudden, he sees himself up on the screen, and then he's so excited. He just turns it. He literally turns it any other 17, 18-year-old kid, like, you know. And it's amazing that it's still, there must still be some sort of some risk attached to that. You know, at that age, nobody knows in the next couple of years what's going to happen to him.
It's not a given that, you know, he's not outperforming himself because of the way his team play as well. They're so quick in the transition. The fact that he's a lot like Rashford, pacey, and
they're not a one-man team like you said before. They're not a one-man team. So you take him out of that, and that's like I said, a team that's been functioning as well as they have been.
I kind of hope that he doesn't come to the Premier League as well, if only because I don't want to see a player as exciting and with so much potential destroyed by this media that will just put him on this pedestal, only wanting to see him drop.
Did Arsene not have a chance of signing him because he signed him? He's had a chance of
You know, Arsene has, and this is the thing, he walks into
not.
Right, journalists love asking this question because they get another headline saying, oh yeah, I nearly signed him, I was looking at Kante and Ronaldo and Yaya and all these guys that he just doesn't end up signing. Mbappe is already, as far as I'm concerned, well out of Arsenal's league. Yep. If only because he stated that he has no intention of going anywhere that doesn't have Champions League football. And as my producer, another United fan, is so keen to dig in, he wants to win trophies. Yeah, no comment on that. Let's move swiftly on to Mahrez, Riyad Mahrez, who probably should have moved from Leicester last season or at the end of last season. He's been linked with a move away from Leicester now, and the Algerian says that he also wants to play Champions League football. In my eyes, he's a true talent who deserves to be playing Champions League football on a regular basis. It's a shame that Leicester haven't been able to kind of get there again, but they had a good run.
Yeah, but we want players, we criticise players, or players are criticised for showing ambition and engineering moves, and then something like Mahrez happens where you can look back on it in hindsight and think, you should have moved. And he clearly wanted to move last summer, nothing came about. I suspect he moves back to France. I don't know if he gets a PSG move, but Monaco is a potential. But yeah, it feels like he missed the boat. And we have to remember cases like Mahrez when we criticise other players for showing ambition at 19, 20 years old to move to big clubs, I think.
People forget it. For every sort of, I'm trying to think of an example of a player who doesn't go. For every one that isn't of a player who doesn't get his move, like a Payet. So Payet pushed for his move, but for every player that's that does that, there's probably about 20, 30 who should have moved, and they never get that chance again. So it's the same with managers. As soon as they get the chance to move on to a better club with a better budget, they've got to go because
with players, it's a short career, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
you've only got.
I mean, he's not missed out financially because he got weighed in when he was at Leicester. You know, same with Vardy.
There's also the fact that they will go down as legends, regardless of what they do at that club. So
he will forever be Player of the Year for that year. They can't take that away from him.
Well, and it's worked out well for him in that perspective because he's stuck. Him and Vardy stuck around for a year. You know, so it's not like they won the league and then they're gone straight away.
Yeah. As Kante did. No, looking at you, N'Golo. Quick mention on Lacazette. I know Atleti have a transfer ban that they're actually appealing, but there are reports that they have offered £34 million, 40 million euros for the Frenchman at Lyon, probably for the last season ever. He's kind of been their talisman, but it looks like finally he wants to move away. Yeah,
it's one of those that he has been pushing for a move for some time, and it's just never quite happened. And with the greatest respect to Lyon, and they quite possibly will qualify for the Champions League, it's not a big club, and Atletico really will be. I'm sure they would love to be competing in the market for players like Pierre-Emerick or Aubameyang, but Lacazette, because he hasn't got that move, is on that slight level below, I think. And by the sound of it, we'll be able to sign him for a lot less than you'd sign Romelu Lukaku for. So it feels, even though it's obviously it's still a big fee, but it feels like a no lose signing, this one. Yeah, and as you say, they have got a transfer ban, but all the noises suggest that they will be able to, even not postpone that ban, then have it annulled.
Atleti have an incredible history of signing top quality strikers, and in my eyes, if they actually land this one, it's another massive move that will keep them in competition with the biggest, best clubs in the world.
Yeah, but it's the same with goalkeepers as well. You look at the last three goalkeepers they've had: De Gea, Courtois. Black, yeah. And so, if anybody wants a good goalkeeper, they need to see who they're going to be interested in next, and just try and pinch them before them.
It's quite funny actually. Arsenal did something quite similar with that with Villarreal, Gabriel, and Eric Bailly replacing Gabriel. Something like $3 million they paid for him. Brilliant business they're doing out in La Liga. Where are we, lads? Where are we? Let's move on. There are plenty of other transfer news stories that we will be talking about in the next show, and obviously lots to come in the summer. However, in slightly a different tone, some shocking stuff happened in Serie A this gone week, in that 32-year-old former Portsmouth player and hero, cup winner, Suleiman Tari, was subject to some racist abuse from the crowd whilst playing for his side Pescara against Cagliari. Now, what I find quite astonishing is that he's basically protested to the referee to do something about this. The referee has suggested that he just get on with his job. He has said that he's not willing to do so. He's walked off. He's tried to actually convince one of the younger fans who was involved with his father in this abuse that he was receiving by giving him a shirt and showing him that this isn't the way to behave. Yet he's been given a one game ban. I'm very, very confused about how a player who's subject to racism, as is quite often the case, unfortunately, in certain places in Italy and France, I'm actually lost with this because this is another classic example of a topical thing being brought to the forefront, an issue we need to be talking about and doing more about. And these guys are brushing it under the carpet as though it's nothing, and that he's actually the one in the wrong.
The mad thing is that Serie A rules dictate that if something like this happens, because it is reasonably commonplace, the referee should tell the fourth official should tell the head of security in the stadium, and it should be dealt with. So there's not only a mistake there that that's not happened, the mistakes happen, and the referee, I think Daniele Minelli, clearly has made a mistake there. But then that mistake to be compounded by Serie A's disciplinary committee, who have upheld this one-game ban, you just wonder where the thought process is there. In the same disciplinary report, Lazio and Inter fans, they've been punished for racism, and yet the Cagliari fans have got away with it because they said there wasn't a high enough proportion of fans involved in racist abuse, as if there's some sort of acceptable number of fans are allowed to be racist.
Bewildering.
Have UEFA got involved in this at all yet?
Not yet, no. But I mean, the United Nations ambassador has got involved. This is, by the way, this is FIFA Task Force, who disbanded their racism task force last year because they said their work was done. So that's what we're dealing with here. So
this is the thing.
I've got a headache.
We were speaking about the penalty that Joey Barton got last week, and that it's not that it's too strong, that it's the penalties for other instances like this, like racism, it's far too weak, and it's absolutely disgusting that Montari is.
It's criminal. I'm sorry.
It's if it wasn't so serious, it'd be laughable.
Yeah. It's like any other place of work that you have or you encounter something like that. There's a system you can go through and you know it's going to get dealt with. This is like
never.
Well, what's going on, football?
Yeah, but we said that it's historically, it's a problem in Italy.
Right.
But we say that and we point the finger there.
Right.
But look at the Rangers Celtic game last week.
Yes.
The abuse that Scott Sinclair got from Rangers fans, it's exactly the same, and it's because people aren't taking a strong enough stand on issues like this that it still goes on. If there was a zero tolerance attitude to it all, then it wouldn't be happening.
That's it.
Football has a pretty strong run at shooting itself in the foot, but this is, even considering that, this is surprising. This is shocking. It's not. This was Italian football's chance to lead on what is an issue with Italian society, not just football or sport. And they've absolutely thrown away that chance.
That's my issue, though, is that they've had plenty of scope to do this. I can remember when I was younger watching Football Italia, there are various clubs, I won't point the finger, but there are various clubs who have affiliations with fascism, with we should be past this now as a society. If anything, like you said, we should be making examples of teams that fans are putting people in this position.
And football needs to lead the way on things like this because it is such, especially in Italian culture, it's such a strong part of that culture that if football deals with it, people will follow. And kids like that kid at the Pescara Cagliari game will listen, will follow that sort of thing. But if football fails to do it, it just sends out a message that nobody cares.
Right, well, we here at 888 Sports, Football Friday Live, do care. From the bottom of our hearts, I thought it's plain to see anyway, that things need to be done. But the fact that, again, we're talking about it is hopefully moving in the right direction. Now, with news on the vote results, is Richie Driss on a social?
Yeah, I've had another comment regarding this, which I am 100% behind. Rashford for me, as he came out of nowhere, even for United fans, he didn't even stand out in the reserves beforehand. He was fast-tracked and grasped the opportunity and kept himself granted at the same time. That's from Jake Wrigley. But the vote is in.
Kept himself granted?
Apparently.
Grounded.
Oh, grounded. Okay.
Yeah, sorry, I misread that completely.
No, shit.
Go on, go on.
I want to know who's won, mate. I can't wait anymore.
It sounded like you were going to chip in.
No,
Alex
I'm ready to know. I'm hoping it's my guy as well. I'm hoping it's not.
Which guy? Go on.
I'm rooting for Mbappe. I mean, I understand that Lukaku is probably, you know, man for man, he's probably on paper the best one there. However, I'm just not willing to give this to Harry Kane, so I'm hoping you guys haven't let me down.
Okay, cool. The vote is in. In fourth place, with a share of 15%, Everton's Romelu Lukaku.
Go on, son.
Shame.
In third place, with a share of 16%, is Tottenham's Harry Kane.
Good man. Loving it, lads. Good work, good work.
In second place,
No, no.
with a share of 20%, is Monaco's Mbappe.
Oh, I knew from the smirk.
Which means, thank you, in first place, top of the league, well, this league anyway, having a laugh, Marcus Rashford with a share of 49% is voted for you, best young striker, Manchester's finest.
I mean, perhaps being swayed by the fact that they played last night. I don't know. It's difficult to disagree, really. All of them, and I'm sure that probably took. Pleasure. I want to thank 888sport for putting this on in the first place. Richie, you guys at home, anyone, if you aren't already following us on YouTube, Periscope, Twitter, Facebook, make sure you do that now. We'll be back with another Football Friday Live next week. For now, though, I've been Hugh Izzy, and you've been gorgeous.